Mayor Bauer,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Lennick, Alderman Madray,
Here.
Alderman McDermott,
Here.
Alderwoman Jones,
Here.
Alderwoman Joseph.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Alderwoman Jones, would you please sing the pledges? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you. And Pastor Dillman is going to lead us in our invocation.
I'm just gonna stand back here, is that all right?
That's fine.
Okay. So, real quick, first of all, Merry Christmas to y'all. I hope y'all have a blessed holiday. And, I think John summed it up the most when he said, God is love. So as we go into this new season of hope and prosperity, because God wants us to be prosperous, He doesn't want us to falter. Let's just keep that commandment that Jesus gave us to love thy neighbor. And it's a hard one. I'm the first one to tell you. That's a hard lesson to learn. Because we all have differences, we all have opinions, but if we can solve all this with love. So let's just go. Father God, first of all, I want to thank you for what you've done, what you're doing, and what you continue to do in all of our lives. Father God, I lift up this city council and the mayor to you, Father God, that they be led by your word, Father God, and your word alone. Father God, I pray for a hedge of protection around all our police officers, firemen, and EMS this holiday season and into the new year, Father God. We also pray for our servicemen that are here abroad or here in this country. Father God, we lift up Galveston Island for blessings of abundance to this island and to the people, to this great state of Texas and to this nation. Father God, and also the residents and our tourists that come here to visit, let them feel your presence, especially when they're here in this city. And Father God, especially when the tourists come to visit and then leave, let them go back home and sit there and think to themselves and say, I want what this city has. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, does any council member have a conflict of interest to note concerning tonight's agenda?
No.
Okay, at this time we'll have public comment. First of all, Ms. Marisol.
Yeah, right? Last one to show up, first one to go in. All right, hi guys, it's me again. It's Marisol, 16613 Curlew Road.
Marisol.
Garza
Garza
Forest,
Forest,
yes,
thank you.
okay. So I'm just gonna read something real quick from one of the JB Watchdogs things that I think I can relate to. Texas is strong on property rights. The city is overstepping big time, and if they go forward, will cost us, as taxpayers, eventually with court cases. I would rather the city use this money to fight the bad SDRs and enforce our current ordinances. If citizens really wanted to stop or limit STRs, then it should be done through the deed restrictions. That process would allow all property owners to have a vote. Our deed restrictions do not limit the right to rent your property. The city is trying to take away property rights with a city ordinance. We don't rent our home, but I don't believe the city has the right to tell me I can't, or change how my property can be used in the future. This is just plain wrong. Okay? With that said, and as I've said it before, taking property rights, we all have them. And even if we don't like them, it's not up to us to restrict them. And you guys all have that authority from last meeting's prayer. your heads, I mean, you guys have a lot to think about. And you not only have to think about who you don't like over here, but who you like, and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is like, this is huge, and it will affect us all, whether we like it or not. So just think about that. And also the beach user fee, I don't like that. Why? Because at the end of the day, the beach is for all of us. It's not just, I mean, we're privileged to be here and enjoy it on an everyday scale. But we cannot take that right away either. And so that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, protect our rights. Today, I was able to witness my nephew, Ivan Cruz, graduate from the Army today. And that is proud. I mean, I'm so proud, and that is the American way, and that's how I want to keep it. America first. Thank you.
Ms. Linda McDonald?
Linda McDonald, 4413 Pelican Way. I'm going to read a few posts off of the Jamaica Beach Watchdogs Facebook page. There it is, lawsuit. The beginner's book of STR talking points. I love Jamaica Beach. I only rent to families. My houses aren't the problem. I only rent mine so I can retire in it later, even though I own 5 STRs. Let's just punish the other bad actors. They are the problems. My neighbors love me. Oh, and those pesky mouth-breathing locals get in the way of us destroying their neighborhood for maximum profit. Don't forget the favorite, lawsuit, lawsuit, lawsuit. Oh, now do a cartoon for all the investors in LLCs that own 4 or 5 or 7 STRs and shove the max amount of people there so they can in them daily. Can't wait to see what emoji you pick for them. Then do a cartoon for the poor people that has to live next door to one of those houses. You do realize we are losing potential buyers because they don't want to live next to an STR, right? We don't want STR buyers on the first place. Let's replace them with residents. Mayor and City Council. Those posts are from a council member on this council. That council member is also our short-term rental liaison. I would like to request that our short-term rental liaison be replaced with a member who is willing to work with STR owners to the betterment of Jamaica Beach. Thank you.
Mr. Francis, did you have some submitted public comments?
Yes, Mayor. Zachary Strickland, 16564 Pelican Road. I've emailed all of the council members about this topic, but I'm writing again to express my concerns regarding several proposed changes in the new draft short-term rental ordinance. These changes could significantly impact current property owners, and I believe it's crucial to ensure their voices are heard and documented by a poll. This would provide council members with a comprehensive understanding of the community's stance before making any final decisions. Currently, only a small portion of homeowners in Jamaica Beach have voting rights. I worry this may result in elected officials making decisions that do not fully represent the majority of the community. One example of concern is the proposed 10% STR cap. Under this change, if my property, titled solely to me, were to pass to my wife upon my death, she could retain the right to rent. However, if she were to pass, my son would lose that right, potentially facing a significant financial burden. This burden would be exacerbated by declining property values due to the restrictions on property use. I also want to highlight recent precedents with the Beach User Fee Survey, which captured 385 verified responses using water bill accounts and addresses. A similar survey could be conducted for the proposed STR changes before the council votes on the proposed ordinance. For major changes such as the 10% STR cap, I suggest including individual, straightforward questions in a yes-no format. For example, do you support the implementation of a 10% STR cap? No. Current owners retain the right to rent, but that right is lost if ownership transfers. If council were to pass an ordinance that had significant impacts on owner rights, but didn't represent the majority of the homeowners, I imagine it would lead to costly litigation. Thank you for considering this approach. I believe it would be a valuable tool to better understand the preferences of property owners and ensure a more equitable decision-making process. Finally, please consider changing the date of when hot taxes are due to match the state filing of the 20th of the month instead of the 15th. Glenda Rogers, 16602, Captain Kidd. I'm writing to express my concerns regarding several proposed changes in the new draft STR ordinances. These changes could significantly impact current property owners, and I believe it's crucial to ensure their voices are heard and documented by a poll. This would provide council members with a comprehensive understanding of the community's stance before making any final decisions. Currently, only a small portion of homeowners in JB have voting rights. I worry this may result in elected officials making decisions that do not fully represent the majority of the community. One example, 10% STR cap under this change. If my property was titled solely to me and I passed, my spouse could rent the property, but my spouse passes, my children would lose the right to rent the property, which will cause declining property values. Also, the Beach User Fee Survey, which captured 385 verified responses using water bill account and addresses, a similar survey could be conducted for the proposed STR changes before the council votes. For major changes, I suggest individual straightforward questions in yay, no format. If council were to pass an ordinance that had significant impacts on owner rights but didn't represent the majority of homeowners, I imagine it would lead to costly litigation. Thank you for considering this approach. I believe it would be a valuable tool to better understand the preferences of property owners and ensure a more equitable decision-making process. Larry Benthal, 16630 Nassau Way. The fact that an STR cap is once again on the agenda is a blatant disregard for the community opinion expressed at the town hall meeting about STRs last year. Why give existing STRs an advantage over non-STR property owners who may want an STR at some point, such as offsetting expenses for retirement? Giving existing STRs a monopoly increases the likelihood of those existing STRs continuing longer, which there will be no competition. So reduction in the quantity over time will take decades. The political scarce tactics of saying STRs could grow at the rate during COVID and low interest rates has been shown to be false by the market forces. There is no reason to believe a rebound in STR investors is around the corner either. STR owners have learned that the early glory days of profitability are no longer the case, and the STR markets have leveled off or even declined. Where are the metrics behind this initiative to cap STRs? Where are the police reports showing STR complaints are a problem? They don't exist. Only a few problem properties are or were a problem, and the occupancy limits seem to be working to discourage previous levels of problems. The cap won't do anything to relieve current nuisance STRs either. It will take at least a couple of decades to reach the 10% cap, if ever. Meanwhile, if this passes and you or your heirs want to sell, they will have limited buyers driving down competitive pricing of their homes. An STR cap unfairly hits the pocketbook of property owners. Cindy Young, 4216 Spanish Main. I would ask this council to not pass another ordinance, especially limiting the number of STRs. It is affecting our home values. Just enforce the laws we already have. By only allowing one transfer, it means families won't be able to keep homes in their families. No one knows what the future brings, so to limit what you can do with your house is not a good thing for anyone. This will have a negative effect on the community, and when home values go low enough, someone you would not want living next to you will undoubtedly move in. We are going to start seeing people that normally couldn't afford to live in our community living here. Enforce what we have on the books and leave the rest alone. Lisa Tyson, 16538 Tortuga Way. Howdy, my name is Lisa. Some background on our home. My parents built our home in 2010 as our weekend and summer home. We all live in Houston. My mom actually designed the whole entire house. She had never designed a house in her life. My dad was a chemical engineer for KBR. He worked hard his whole life to afford that house. We have loved that house and made so many great family memories. My dad really loved the home. He would go up every weekend, even if we didn't, and go fishing on his kayak. Unfortunately, in July of 2016, he was diagnosed with cancer, and he passed away in November of 2016. In order to keep the home in our family, we have to rent it out on Airbnb. This is the only way we can afford it since my dad's passing. I want our house that my parents built to stay in our family. I'm a single mom and I take my daughter down there all the time. That's a place for us to relax and recharge our soul. And in the future, I want my daughter and her kids to be able to enjoy our home. I don't know if she will have to rent it out or be able to afford the taxes without renting it out. But I would like for her and her heirs to have the option to rent it out. Thank you, Lisa Tyson. Robin Harris, 16529 Anchor Way. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I want to address two key concerns regarding the proposed changes to the short-term rental ordinance. First, regarding the proposed cap on new permits, legal questions aside, as the ordinance is currently written, it appears that if I were to pass away and the title to my property transfers to my wife, the one-time transfer provision would be satisfied. This would mean my children would no longer have the option to inherit the permit in the future. Or if my children inherited them, then my grandchildren would be unable. While this is a significant concern for short-term rental owners like myself, this should concern all citizens of Jamaica Beach. The same restrictions could potentially impact their children or grandchildren's ability to afford or maintain their homes. I urge the council to consider these broader implications for our community. Second, regarding the proposed quarterly reporting requirement, I've looked into several other municipalities that also use automated tax collection systems. I could not find a single one that also requires quarterly reporting from all owners. Instead, these municipalities maintain the right to request reports if questions or issues arise. Adding a blanket requirement for quarterly reports creates unnecessary administrative burdens for both the city and property owners. With automated tax collection in place, this provision is redundant and overly onerous. I encourage the council to reconsider this requirement. The city will always have the right to request individual reporting if needed. Thank you for taking the time to consider these concerns. I appreciate your efforts to create a fair ordinance that serves the best interests of all residents and property owners. Kim Gillahan, 4818 Jamaica Cove. STL am greatly concerned. I am greatly concerned about limitations on STR registration upon my passing my home down to my family, and them having any issues of not being able to rent the home if they so choose or need to. If I pass down to my cousin, then she passes down to her kids. Under what you are trying to do, her kids would not be able to rent the home, and my intention is for this to stay in my family. This is very concerning, and I hope that the board will reconsider this possible limitations on homes that are already registered. We should be grandfathered in, and the registration should pass down to our heirs. Heath Tillman, 16708, Cabeza de Vaca. Recently, the Jamaica Beach City Council approved a revised City of Jamaica Beach Employee Handbook, March 14, 2024. I would like to address concerns related to Section H2 General Policy, which emphasizes high standards of performance and efficiency, fostering positive working relationships among employees, and providing a courteous and professional public service to citizens. Employees are expected to work and behave in alignment with the values, policies, and services standards of the city. In the fall of 2023, I began a home renovation project in coordination with the City of Jamaica Beach Building Department, submitting engineer plans and hiring a contractor well recommended in the area. Renovations commenced in early spring 2024, with additional permits obtained as the project scope expanded. On October 7, 2024, I was notified via email by a building department employee that my property had been red tagged, halting work due to permit issues. The email stated that the inspector had addressed the matter weeks earlier. However, this was the first time that it had been brought to my attention. My professional commitments involve extensive travel, limiting my ability to visit the department in person. Despite repeated requests for clarification via phone and email, no direct conversations occurred, leaving the issue unresolved for 66 days. This delay contrasts sharply with the handbook's service standards, which should promote efficient and effective resolutions. Furthermore, the newly implemented online building permit system lacks clarity and usability for a streamlined hands-off process. Of the 39 permit categories, only 6 include detailed requirements under the View Knowledge tab. Enhancements such as frequently asked questions section, detailed permit descriptions, and a comprehensive fee schedule would significantly improve the system's functionality. For reference, the Villages of Surfside Beach, Texas offers a user-friendly building permit website that Jamaica Beach could emulate. Additionally, the new building permit fee schedule adopted on September 14, 2024 appears excessive and counterproductive. Significant increases with 16 of 27 residential permits rising by 58% or more may discourage homeowners from pursuing necessary improvements, ultimately impacting community upkeep. In conclusion, as a proud resident of Jamaica Beach, I value this community and its people. However, residents deserve improved communication, better access to resources, and adherence to the standards outlined in the employee handbook. Addressing these concerns would foster a more efficient and citizen-focused building department benefiting the entire community. Andrea Spearing, 16617 Jamaica Beach Road. I am here again to speak out about some of the never-ending changes to the STR ordinances. While I applaud council for trying to write a single ordinance that supersedes all existing ordinances, I do not think that this current version should be the one that passes. There has been insufficient time for residents to lay the existing ordinance and redo out side by side and compare all changes, additions, and omissions. I know the draft ordinance says it highlights all the differences, but have not had time to verify one person's, no offense Kendall, version. I believe we currently have approximately 340 registered STRs in JB. This ordinance only allows 10% of properties in JB to be STRs. We have 483 homes in JB per the 2020 census. If this ordinance is passed, the number of STRs would need to be limited to approximately 48 STRs. I know more homes have been built since 2020, but I doubt that it would significantly change this number. How did the city come up with the 10% cap? Previous discussions have been a 25% cap. Will the number of STRs capped increase with the ever new property developed in JB? How has the city proposed to get from the current approximately 340 STRs down to approximately 50? First to register, attrition, violation enforcement? How has the city planned to budget without the associated pot of close to 300 STRs? Has the city considered the effect of limiting STRs on the home values in JB? We're all for lower taxes, but not at the expense of our investments in homes, full-time, part-time, or rental. Beachfront homes on Galveston Island have been rental properties for more than 30 years. Sand and Sea just celebrated 50 years of renting and selling homes on the island. Is there to be any differentiation between beachfront and canal or landlocked areas of the city? Historically rented properties? What about JBIC areas that would be okay with STRs, like the beachfront areas? I know JB has greater than 30 HOAs. Can an HOA allow STRs within its borders and supersede the cap that the city is proposing? Thank you for allowing me to question this ordinance. Please do not pass this ordinance at this time. As said on numerous occasions by many residents, enforce existing ordinances, don't make new ones.
Okay, no special presentations today. A reminder that we're not holding a council meeting on December 26th. I know everybody's disappointed. Yeah, but we are canceling on the day after Christmas. All right, so, Kendall, do you have any verbal report you'd like to make?
Yeah, I'll just mention a couple things real quick. as you were talking about holiday things, a reminder to everyone that the holiday trash collections service will remain as normal, so they will pick up on that Thursday, after Christmas, so no changes there. The bulkhead, we're, getting pretty close to final, the installation of the cap is the only thing that remains for that project. Also, something that, I know the council's aware of, but just to make the citizens aware, we've run into a little bit of a snag with the beach nourishment project. The vendors for sand are not willing to guarantee that they have enough sand in stock to complete our project. And these are, of course, these sands are what is allowed on our permit. So we are taking some steps to try to amend our permit to allow the addition of some river sand, that Brazos river sand, that has been permitted in other sites. We're working with the GLO and the Corps of Engineers. Ultimately, it's up to the Corps of Engineers on how many hoops they're gonna make us jump through. If they allow a simple amendment to our permit, it probably only delays the project maybe 30 days. If they make us resubmit a whole new permit, it's likely an entire year before the project could be completed. The other caveat to this is Brazos river sand is reddish in color, because it has not been sun bleached yet. And so there is that aesthetic factor. They did tell us that they could use sand from multiple vendors, so they could try to get as much sand as possible from the vendors that are in place and only supplement with whatever is needed with the river sand. But it's still very much up in the air. I have submitted the request. I have not heard anything from the Corps of Engineers at this time.
Do we know you said this has been approved elsewhere?
I believe they said Surfside.
Okay, and they used it in, not only was it approved, but it was
It
used?
was utilized, yes.
Okay.
So
I mean, I guess,
You would think-
how red is red?
It's not like the red clay you see, it's pretty close to it.
but you would think, I mean,
Brazos River is real red.
Yes.
yeah.
It's pretty close to the red clay.
Now, it will bleach out in time. I don't know how much time, but, so there is a little bit of that question.
Could Robert maybe take a drive to Surfside and visit with someone over there and get an opinion on?
Bring a jar back.
Bring a jar back.
We cannot remove sand.
Well, it could have fallen in your shoe. Big shoe and spring your foot a long way.
Get a little envelope.
Yeah, because I think we should pursue with the permit, right? But I think we all need to agree that that's what we want at the end, or would we rather wait for a different sand quality?
The 1 year, you'll have to go out to bid again, you have a new,
We
a
will
new
be starting
engineer.
over.
Yeah, start square one, a new engineer.
Do we have an idea of the percentage that we would use the already approved contractor who might not have enough sand versus other?
They did not, GLO was pretty tight-lipped about that.
Okay.
They just said that the vendors that had been identified were not willing, although at least one of them said they thought they had enough, but they weren't willing to guarantee that they had enough. Because it's the listed amount, 62,000 cubic yards, but to actually do the nourishment project, it's probably 70,000 cubic yards, because it's what's left. I mean, as they're putting it on, some of it's getting washed away and things like that, so,
Where did they get the sand?
They dredge it.
Like, when they did that with a little further up the seawall, it was coming out of the,
And so
we
the
can't
re-
get that done? that
No,
way?
because it's too small of a project to be cost effective. Yeah,
Putting those pumping
And
barges
to
out
be
there.
great, just
like
doesn't
that.
fit the economics.
I
yeah,
see.
yeah, so the project was that it would be hauled in, be trucked in, so.
That's more economical.
Yes, apparently for a project that size, that's very expensive.
So we're waiting to hear from the Corps, but I would like to know a little more about what the result, if it was Surfside that they actually approved it. I'd like to know what percentage Surfside ended up using of river sand versus dredge sand,
The,
and then were they happy with it?
you know, but how long ago that was, I don't know.
I
think they'll answer that.
know. Huh?
I don't think we'll get that answer. I think what they're saying is that that perhaps they have enough, but they can't guarantee they have enough.
Yeah,
No, I'm just asking for what was Surfside's result.
Oh, Surfside, yes,
They
definitely.
should know how
it looked.
they should know the project.
We should be
goals.
able to go and look at it.
I'm gonna bring you Sam.
I would say one thing is that I would just be careful here. Because the way it is and politics and different things is, this is our opportunity.
Yeah, I don't, we're not saying no, Gil.
I know we're not saying, no, I'm just saying let's be cautious because
Yeah,
we may never get it done.
yeah,
We may be replaced with another program.
yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying let's not get it done. I would just like to anticipate what the outcome is going to be.
Maybe simple just to go over, hell, I'd go right over there with, let's take some pictures of what it looks like.
but like I said, I don't know how long ago this was, that their project took place. You know, if it was multiple years, it's probably bleached out by now, or, so.
It may not be an issue and they may have enough. I can see a contractor saying because they're bound in a contract and that they may not have enough. But they can't say how much. It's
Anything-
bank-
anything
It's
else?
bank sand.
Yeah, anything else on your list, Kim?
The only, one other thing, so City Hall will close tomorrow at 10 a.m. for our, city Christmas luncheon. And of course, we do have court in the morning, so please continue to come to court. We will continue to be here until court finishes, so we're not gonna just shut the door at 10 o'clock, so,
Yeah.
so it's 10 a.m. for, most employees, but we will make certain that municipal court finishes before we, get out of here.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question for Kendall.
Yeah.
Kendall, you promised or suggested that, our city check register would be updated in December.
And,
It's December.
yeah, so, they're done. Pam Joslet, who posts stuff for us, had left on vacation. I chose not to send it to her. Esther and I can do some basic things as far as editing the website, but with the hyperlinks and stuff that she put in on for this, we weren't smart enough to post it. Mayor Bauer did say that that she would be available, that Pam would be available to do some of this stuff. So we have sent it to her, and asked her to post it, so it,
When did she get back from her trip?
No, she can do it remotely.
yeah,
She
she's
has
gonna have to do it
capabilities to
remotely.
post it.
She
Well,
just does emergency all the time.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, that's.
Should we really be bothering her on her, I mean, we can wait till she gets back.
Well, see, that's,
No, she requested that, she said, anything you need posted while we're gone, she's got access.
I had just, I just had chosen not to try to bother her as much as I could, but, I will notify you, like I said, she's out, she's overseas, so, it's not instantaneous when she's replying and things like that, so.
16 hours difference.
Yeah, so, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, is Police Chief Garabay around?
He's on the phone right there.
Okay,
You want me to ask him?
yeah, just say, do you have anything to add? Other than this report which is attached? We'll go ahead, Robert, do you have anything
I have
besides
nothing
your?
to add, but the bulkhead is looking really good. take a ride by there, folks. It's looking really.
Polar Plunge, did you tell them?
I did not.
Yes, Polar Plunge on
January 4th.
January 4th. And last year was amazing. We raised $18,000. This wonderful community for Special Olympics, which is dear to my heart. Please sign up, get in. Hopefully it's 20 degrees. So, right here, Long Beach. Oh, it's Long Beach, yes ma'am, right here in Jamaica Beach. So
What day is that?
that's gonna be a Saturday. You'll get on our Facebook page, it's up there. Yes, sir, you get on there and sign up, so.
It was my first experience with it last year, I didn't go in, but don't intend to go in
And
this year either.
this year Gil promised me he's gonna get
But everybody dressed up and went in costumes, and it was a super fun event. If you're not brave enough to go in, at least find someone to sponsor.
Yes.
And,
And there were, thank you, Mayor, there were several that did not jump in, but they signed up, made the donation, it's all to a great cause.
yes, it is.
Thank you so much.
It was great fun. Okay, thank you. All right.
No, I was.
Next is approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular city council meeting on November 21st, 2024? And also to approve the minutes from our special city council meeting that we held on November 18th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as posted?
I'll make that motion to approve the minutes as posted.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as posted? Okay, next is reports from members of council. I think, Gil, you're first up for any comments or reports.
No, I don't have any position.
All right, Alderman Joseph.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everybody that came out to our Christmas celebration last Saturday. It just went really well. The weather wasn't in our favor at the beginning, but it started to be a very wonderful winter day. So I really appreciate that. And I also want to thank our, not here tonight, but our Alderman Rennick and his wife Gina, who had special contact with Santa and Mrs. Claus. And so that they brought them into Jamaica Beach to enjoy the festivities and entertain the children and the kids of all ages. But then also too, I was honored to be one of Santa's elves on duty. And Tina Cifuentes, she did a great job coordinating everything, so thank you for that. And also too, I just want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And going back to, I really appreciated David's invocation and prayer at the beginning, and asking everybody to be kind during the holidays, especially on social media. I know it's so easy to get frustrated and upset and say things and maybe later regret it. So I'm asking everybody that, you know, the best gift of all during the holiday season is to show kindness. So, and I pray for all of you. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to, if any of you know Winky Cola and Jerry Moan and his wife Winky, their son passed away, and suddenly and unexpectedly. So if you could keep them in your heart and in your prayers, I think that that would be, that's what's needed right now. Also, my sister and I went to a VFW meeting in St. George, Utah. 9 of their members were given special awards for participating with burying veterans. If you've ever been to a veteran's burial, you know they're very special. One has helped with over 100 burials. They ensure that every veteran burial is treated with dignity, respect, love, and the families presented with a folded American flag. We were also able to pass out our stars for troops while I was there, and in my travels back and forth. And with my volunteers, we've now shared 9,860 something stars. And also, you said that your son graduated from boot camp, Linda? Oh,
No.
pardon me.
It was my nephew.
Nephew.
My nephew graduated from boot camp today.
Then you need to take home a star also
Okay,
and
I
give
will.
that to him.
Definitely.
Okay, thank you. And Merry Christmas, everyone.
I wanted to also commend Tina on the Christmas party. It was very cool. The snow machine was an excellent touch. All the kids seemed to enjoy that. That was super cool. And Alderman Rennick for also being in touch with Santa Claus. That was great. Also, Kendall, the mayor, and I spoke with Steve Walden Consulting a few weeks ago about some consulting work for our water and wastewater, and that was a very productive conversation that I think could bear fruit in the future, so that was pretty cool. And I guess that's it. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah, you wanna, why don't you expand a little bit on that conversation with Steve, with his volunteer and?
Yeah, I met
He's got a consultant.
Steve Walden, actually at a funeral in San Antonio. He has a company, Steve Walden Consulting, that helps towns, specifically under 3,000 people, with their wastewater and water problems. He gave us some alternatives to some of the things we're doing, told us that there's ways to bypass some regulations with waivers that they give in almost 100% of the cases that a lot of engineers don't know about, because most engineers do multiple things, whereas he's focused on one thing specifically. He did 30 years working for EQ, yes. And then, we got around to the end of it and asked him how much it would cost for his services to help our city, and he says, nothing. It's a program he does because he's gotten his years of life out of working for this and enjoys helping small cities with their regulations. So he's willing to help us. He's got people all over the state that can come in and do free assessments of your water system, wastewater system, and give you ideas and help you with paperwork and getting grants. There's a $100,000, basically a grant that you sign up for, and they'll come do takeoffs of your system, I think.
It was help with the asset management tool.
Yeah.
So, helping us map our system and know when we need to do replacements and how we help. So it's an asset, I got the impression, we have not seen the tool, that it's an asset management mapping tool to help us predict expenses and maintenance and life cycle history of our facility.
Yeah, so it was a productive conversation. I think going forward we'll probably get some good use out of it.
Yeah, I think we're probably gonna try to set up a meeting and have him come in sometime in January. And one of the really cool things, talking about the exceptions, right now, those of us who live on canals, especially dead-end canals, TCEQ, the way our pipelines were laid, don't meet today's standards. So to get better flow and pressure through your system, you loop a system. So you have your main coming down, and the water right now, the pipeline goes down one side of the street and up the other. But when it comes up the other, it's too close to our sewer line. So the engineers have been talking about TCEQ won't approve that anymore. So if we just go down and dead end, you have reduced flows, increased maintenance issues. So the engineers have been suggesting we bore under the canals to get loops, which is costly. So that was the one where he was saying, no, TCEQ will grant you exceptions and will let you lay closer to the sewer line than current regulations. So
We asked him how he knew that. He said he's the one that wrote the regulations.
Yeah, so it was a great happenstance, and thank you, Alderman McDermott, for talking about us and our issues and potentially finding a great win-win for us.
Mayor, I forgot on my update, I also forgot to thank our citizens, the Cables, who also happen to know the Grinch and Cindy Lou. And they got in contact with them, and they also, which was really great about the Cables, that they also helped with the Grinch and Cindy Lou bring really nice little gifts for the kids. So I want to definitely put a shout out to the Cables as well. Thank you.
All right. Okay, on to new business. First is discussion, consideration, and take action regarding the use of Microsoft Teams for citizen remote participation in council meetings. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make a motion to discuss Microsoft Teams.
Second?
I'll second that.
All right. Kendall, we talked about this last time. You wanna?
Yeah, and that's essentially what I was just gonna tell you. So we did have this brief discussion about this last time. we have been, it's my assumption that during COVID, that we, to try to enhance connectivity remotely, we initiated the use of Teams. It's my understanding there's been some problems with it, the entirety of its use, but I asked Esther to start monitoring if it was being used at all over the last several months, probably since August, September timeframe, and we've not had any use of anybody remotely connecting via Teams. And then, of course, last week, a citizen spoke that that's because you can't hear it, it doesn't work, and no one wants to use it. So, you know, I wasn't sure how it was set up, if it took a resolution, you know, if the council voted to set it up, but I wanted to bring it back for a formal discussion and vote. You know, my recommendation is that we stop the usage of it. It's not effective if anyone tries to use it. You know, I know this is things we've talked about in our strategic plan and areas that we want to improve our connectivity, our ability to broadcast, our council meetings and stuff, but, you know, in my opinion, this is not the answer, so you know, my recommendation to the council is that we would stop the use of Teams for, remoting in. You know, we've now added the ability for the citizen remote comments, that people utilize that pretty frequently, as you saw tonight. And it's relatively simple to use, so that's kind of.
So I know in our strategic plan and in the budget, we have money to enhance our sound system and the ability to publish and show council meetings. Do you have an update on time frame of when we might be able to start looking at that? Do we,
I don't, but I
Okay.
know it, you know, not to let the cat out of the bag, but I know that's something, one of the goals on our strategic plan that,
It is.
you know, by the end of budget year, but
Okay.
it's gonna take trying to get in touch with some people that have that expertise and recommendations. I've already sent you something from, Granicus, the
Yep.
system that they utilize. It's, is obviously an option, something we can look at. Just, I think updating some of the equipment and some of our systems will go a long ways. We already do, stream, to Facebook. You know, so there's other things that we should be exploring.
okay. All right.
Mayor, I've been taking video of the meetings and putting them on YouTube.
Yes.
And sending the links to Kendall and to Pam. And, I've got something like, I forgot how many, I looked the other day, 160, on there. It cost me, of course, my phone,
Yes.
and that's the only cost. So, you know, and I saw, Kendall, some of your, things that you sent to Kendall about the cost for doing these, and that's just, way too much money. I mean, I'll be happy to give you guys my YouTube, password, but I don't see a problem with doing it that way. Is there a problem?
We already did
It's
through
not-
Facebook though, live,
But
right?
it's not live streamed on YouTube, right? You have to upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we want
People
something
are-
that streams live.
People are watching it now, right?
Right, on
Right,
Facebook,
yeah, on
yes.
Facebook,
And-
On
yeah.
Facebook, yes.
And we just need to, there is still a way to, once it's done streaming, we have that data that we could create the city could create its own YouTube channel. You know, so very similar to exactly what she is saying. Like the Granicus option, wonderful technology, but it comes at a wonderful price, you know, that there are less costly, easier solutions. I think upgrading some of our sound so that people could hear us. You know, when you watch the video, it's hard to hear if you're not right here at the mic or something like that. And I think there are some simple things that we can do that are relatively inexpensive that will make significant improvements.
You could have Mike here at the podium, now they sell these little things you can just hold in your hand.
Yeah, they're-
Like the chamber uses those.
There's just a lot of little tweaks that we could.
But
we
the
could
question
do.
here is using for the remote participation by the citizens to give their, when they come up, is that what the question is, or
Yeah,
no?
this is actually just a remote to monitor and to listen into
To
the meeting. They
listen.
can't, there is no two-way communication.
Yeah, it's just for them to be able
The
to
only
plug
thing
in.
they can hear through is a speakerphone.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just-
and
Yeah.
he said it's so muffled though, they can't.
Yeah, they don't hear us.
They don't
well,
hear us,
they don't
yeah.
hear us well.
Seems silly to keep using it.
Yeah, we-
No one's watching it and it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
so
can't
do I
hear
have a
anything.
Let's get rid of
motion,
this thing.
do I have a motion to, discontinue the use of Microsoft Teams?
I'll make that motion to discontinue the use of Microsoft Teams for citizens' participation
Do
in
I have a
council
second?
meetings.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of discontinuing? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is, discussion, consideration, and take action to make appointments to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I have a motion to discuss appointments?
Make a motion to discuss appointments.
Have a second?
I second.
All right. I think, Kendall, you pointed out that, or Robert?
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission, Commissioners Oris Mooney and Rhonda Cameron's terms of the P and Z Commission expired on November the 30th, 2024. Mr. Mooney and Ms. Cameron have asked to be reappointed. They have a desire to sit on the commission and get another 2-year term. They have played active roles on the commission and have perfect attendance in all meetings. And we have no other candidates who have stepped up.
So the recommendation is to appoint, these two individuals to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Was this advertised? I don't remember seeing it in.
We've had them in the past, yes, and we've asked for volunteers, and we only had one volunteer come up to sit on the
Where
zoning board
was
of
it
adjustments.
advertised or posted?
It was posted on our Facebook, I mean, on our website at one time.
At one time, last
Well,
week or a month
No,
ago?
it's been, look, the mayor, I think she asked us back in June to put them up, cause she asked me to see who was coming up, and I informed them that two terms were coming up in November. And then the only one who stepped up was, Jessica Sark on the zoning board of adjustments. No one else required. Was interested.
I believe I did see it on the
on
the
the
city
web-
Facebook page.
On the website.
Yeah, I just didn't remember it being anything recent, so,
Yeah.
okay.
We posted for interested candidates to come forward.
And you all, for this council, appointed,
Jessica.
Jessica to the zoning board of adjustments. That was the only one we said.
Do I have a motion to continue to extend or reappoint, both? Help me get the names right again, Robert.
Oris Mooney
Mooney and
and
Cameron.
Rhonda Cameron.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Horace Mooney and Rhonda Keeper to planning and zoning.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of appointing Oris Mooney and Rhonda Cameron? Okay, thank you. Next is discussion consideration to take action on ordinance 2024-12, regulating coin-operated machines and game rooms. Do I have a motion to discuss?
Make a motion to discuss coin operated machines and game rooms.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so I think this is the third time up.
This is the third time up.
And I think, all the comments we made have been included, you want to go through it?
Yeah, the one thing that I want to bring to your attention at the last meeting, it was, I believe, Alderman McDermott asked about extending the range to 1,000 feet. That currently it's set at 300. So when I talked to the city attorney about that and the defendability, she said 300 feet is state law, so there's not. She absolutely knows you can defend that. She said she would worry that the 1,000 feet would be an intentional push to completely eliminate it. And she said that you may have difficulty enforcing that, is some enforceability with that, or defendability, I should say, is the correct word. So the draft, I put it back to left it at the 300 feet, which honestly effectively eliminates, as the city stands today, any property. that would qualify in this, so. Other than that, none of the changes, I mean, I made the changes, I eliminated the 6-foot, game room sign on the outskirts, but, those were the only substantive changes that were made.
Can it be a little more than 300 feet? Could it be reasonable, like say 500?
The answer is yes, you can make it.
But it would still look
But I think since the state law is 300, she has no question about that, she knows it undeniable. I think the more you extend it out, the more you open yourself up to
Appeals.
appeals and stuff like that, so.
How about,
Oh, no, go ahead, Kel.
again.
No, go. Go, Kel, I was.
Okay. The 6 months. I thought we were talking about maybe only giving them 3 months.
Well, and I'll be honest, I wasn't sure if, from my notes, if we wanted to do that. I mean, we easily can, and when the motion's made, if you want to make it with the 3 months, we can easily do that.
Any
I
comment?
thought we did say 90 days. I can't.
I thought it was 90 days too.
Okay, and that's.
But is that what we wanna do? That's the question now.
What are you thinking?
I like the 3 months.
Your turn.
If, I mean,
I
did
did-
the attorneys, it's the 6 months, how was that derived? I mean,
This was taken from another ordinance written
That's
for
what I
another,
mean. I would check with Bridget to make sure that, again, we're not stepping, in an elephant hole when we do that.
but she, no, actually, she did say that we could reduce that. That was one of the questions, because that's why I brought it forward, because,
That's what I thought.
yes, she did say that we could do that.
Can we pass it with 90 days with the caveat that that doesn't conflict with any state laws or anything?
Yes, yes.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve, ordinance number 2024-12, an ordinance of the Board of Aldermen of the City of Jamaica Beach, Texas, adopting regulations for coin-operated machines and game rooms with Jamaica Beach, Texas, requiring city licensing of game rooms, levying an occupation tax, setting forth a penalty, providing for severability, and containing other provisions related to the subject matter. With the amendment, can you find it for me, Kendall? I've been trying to find the six-month clause where we wanna go to 90 days.
It's under restrictions, regulations, controls, and limitations.
So it's right
I
here.
think that's where it is. It's been a few weeks here.
I would go today.
It's on.
Everything I had marked. 6 months, right here. Required on the expiration of 6 months, or they on.
Okay, what section is that?
Section B,
Under-
section, restrictions, regulations, controls, and limitations, B.
Page
Right,
27,
right, so
page
it's-
27.
Okay, expiration of 90 days, or abandonment of use at such location, whichever occurs first. So the motion is to approve this ordinance with the exception that under the section restrictions, regulations, controls, and limitations, section B, it's
Amended to read.
Amended to read.
Expiration of 90 days.
90 days versus 6 months,
That should be.
okay? Do I have a motion to approve? As stated,
I make a motion to approve
As amended.
as
as
amended.
amended.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of approving ordinance 2024-12? Okay, thank you.
Through this.
Discussion, consideration, and take action to approve a bid to resurface the municipal swimming pool. Do I have a motion to discuss?
I'll make the motion to discuss in consideration and take action to approve a bid to resurface the municipal swimming pool.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Alright, so, we recently solicited bids to replaster the municipal swimming pool. We're starting to show some cracks and some age, and over the last couple of seasons, we've had some problems disinfecting it because of those cracks and the deterioration of the plaster. So this is a budgeted project, and so we did receive 3 bids. There is in your packet, let me get to the packet since I have it. It includes the bid,
Page 53 has the comparison.
yes.
Which thank you for putting that in.
Yeah.
So we received 3 bids, one Cove Construction, Dillard Coastal Pools, and Sandhill Pool and Design. And so by the bid specs, we spec'd the material to be quartz. We also, wish I could switch back and forth quickly, but it's, let me, just pull it up here. Forget I have a paper copy of it in my hand. That the pool, for, plaster finishes quartz, a white quartz with a minimum thickness of 3/8 inches. We also, spec that it would be, removal of the old all the way down to the original gunite. That the bid would also include refilling, and curing of the pool with, the initial startup and the chemicals. And we also, asked for a, minimum of 2-year warranty against material defects and workmanship. So we received the 3 bids, and I've kind of put them together here, as to the bid specs. 2, Cove Construction, Dillard Coastal, spec the quartz. Sandhill, spec a lesser, just a plain plaster. The tile, now, so that was, we had spec that, so there is tile around the rim of the pool, of blue. You'll also see smaller 2x2 square tiles, like on the steps, it's called toe tile, is how it's referred to on here. The one around the edge, the 6x6 is water line, and then you also notice on the bottom of the pool, there's swim lane tile. So, we had, both Cove Construction and Dillard had bid to reuse the existing tile. They would cut around the waterline tile, the toe tile, and the swim lane. Now, if they happened to break it as they were tearing it out, they would replace it. But they are not bidding to replace that in their base bids. However, Sandhill Pool and Design did with their bid, they included replacing all of the tile. And so I went back to both Cove and Dillard and asked them to submit bids for replacing tile so that I could see an apples to apples type of comparison. Cove Construction, their base bid is $63,120. They're specking quartz. They're going to reuse the existing tile and all tile. They are replacing the drains, covers and stuff. There's maybe a half a dozen. The startup of the pool is included in their price, and we get a 5-year limited warranty, which is the manufacturer's warranty of the quartz. Now, if they also submitted replacing water line and toe tile for an additional $4,120. They did not submit anything for replacing swim lane tile. Dillard Coastal Pools, very similar, their base bid is very similar. Quartz plaster, they would reuse the tile, new drains. They did not include startup, which if you look at their bid sheet, they have that listed as $1,500. So $1,500 additional for that. And that, again, the 5-year limited warranty for a base bid of $64,115. Then the additionals, if they were replace the toe tile, $2,900. Replace water line, $12,000. And replace swim lane, $11,000. So my recommendation to the council is to go with the base bid of Cove Construction. They met all the things that the bid specs were required. They were also the low bid. They did state, and they said if they were cutting tile or cutting around tile and broke it, that would be replaced by them at no additional cost to us.
Yeah, and I saw you try to match the color as best as possible, but
Yes.
can't guarantee it.
Now, there is one other thing to this whole project. There is a crack in the gunite in the southeast corner of the pool that extends up onto the decking a little bit. Once the plaster is removed down to the original gunite, we will have to inspect that crack. None of these bids include anything for repairing that. They were unwilling to put an exact dollar amount on it because they can't see how big it is. Now, I will say that Cove Construction thought it was non-material, but until it could be looked at, they weren't saying. But everybody pretty much told me it was, depending on severity, a $3,000 to $10,000 fix, and all of them pretty much said that. And so now I will say that we budgeted $75,000 for this project, so there is some additional funds available. I guess I would stand for questions, but my recommendation is to move forward with approving a bid from Cove Construction for their base bid.
The only other, in reviewing Dillard's bid, he had specified different prices based on different materials.
Yes, he did.
And I am not a pool expert.
Well, and
Do we need to have any discussion about that Pebble Tech or whatever it's called, because it has a 10-year life versus a 5-year life?
well,
Is-
and so, and
I didn't know, I didn't know all the different levels and what the costs were and relative costs and sort of value proposition on what material do we go with.
so the Pebble Tech Quartz series, the 64,115 is what we considered his base bid. It is also the exact same thing that Cove Construction was bidding.
That's that quartz.
Yeah, yes, and they're the quartz. But as you jump up, yes, you do get additional warranty, but it's my understanding this project was done about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And you're going to, I don't know that an extra couple of years of warranty, 5 years of extra warranties warrants the additional $10,000, $12,000 cost, or $9,000 jump in cost. Is that bid is $75,000 for the
especially if they can get out of their warranty just by saying it went under salt water one time or something. Those warranties are
They-
not always
they-
that great.
They were the first, all of them said pretty much the same things, that the warranties, why, they,
Limited.
it is limited. And to your point, the manufacturers look for those exclusions.
Yeah, I have no history of pool plastering to know if I get 15 years out of this one and 7 years out of this one, and then $10,000, $12,000 extra means we're not spending another $65,000 in 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, now
In-
see this, I
in
believe
15 years.
the existing pool is just a base plaster.
It is.
It is not.
Didn't the low bidder give a 2-year warranty?
Pardon me, they actually,
They're
they're,
5 years.
yes.
5 years.
Yeah, but they do have the 2-year for their workmanship.
Yeah, workmanship,
Yes,
right.
yes,
Materials and everything.
yeah, yes. They did give that, but the only one I listed was the one that was the limited warranty by the manufacturer. But yes, they have the warranty, for workmanship as well.
For 2 years, and the other one was 1 year.
Yes, sir.
Any other comments?
I was right, the bids are, I think these are pretty, they validate themselves. These are
They do.
very close.
Yes.
Very close
Yep.
bids.
I think companies are so good at getting out of warranties on things that I wouldn't make a big investment just to extend a warranty on different, material.
Which one of them has the most experience?
Probably Sand Hill Pool and Design might be my, now Cove Construction, I think, does quite a bit of it, but they subcontract some of that. Dillard Coastal Pools, in speaking with him, this is something he's taken on in the last, him and a partner have taken on in the last handful of years. I don't remember a specific number, but he saw a need for it, and so he expanded his business to include this.
Yeah, I think you partnered with someone who's been doing it for a while.
Yeah. that-
Yeah, but
Anyway.
something like this, experience would count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Co-construction has.
Now, and Cove Construction, redid the decking for us last year. And they're all local, so that,
That's good.
yeah.
You said that this has been done before a few years ago? Who did it then?
That I can't tell you, but our pool manager thought it was about 7 years or so ago.
Do you remember, Taz? Because it would have been something that council approved.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember when it was being done,
Yeah.
because it seemed like it was,
I think our pool, when we did the pool about 2014. But yeah, I think they've done some work on it.
and I think the first failure was pretty quick.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it was actually sinking.
yeah, something happened and we had to redo it way sooner than everybody thought we had to do it. I do remember that.
And,
Okay,
Mayor, and this is coming out of the budget, this is being paid for with HOT.
yes.
Yes, ma'am. And like I said, we did budget 75,000.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve, the bid as submitted by Code Construction for resurfacing the pool? And I'd like to add with that, the caveat that we will also authorize expenditures up to $10,000 to make any necessary repairs as identified and negotiated by the city administrator if the crack needs repairing. So do I have a motion to approve the bid from Code Construction with the addition that City Administrator Kendall Francis will be allowed to go up to $10,000 in repairs as identified and needed and negotiated? Do I have a motion to
I'll make
approve?
a motion to approve as stated.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all in favor of approving the bid for Code Construction? Okay, thank you. Okay, next is discussion and consideration consideration of proposed changes to the short-term rental ordinance. At this point, my suggestion is we table this again until next time. The reason for that is the draft ordinance was just presented. We really haven't had individual time to look at it, consider all the feedback we've gotten. So my suggestion at this point is that we table this till next time, where we can all vet and look at the ordinance more completely. So at this point, I'm asking for a motion to table this discussion until next meeting. Do I have a motion to table till next time?
I'll make that motion to table,
Until next meeting,
until next meeting.
which is January 9th, right?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor of tabling discussion until next meeting with the intent to have a more comprehensive, complete ordinance in front of us for proper vetting and review and discussion. Okay,
I will, because the ordinance that I included was not the draft that we just got yesterday, I will have that draft posted online so everybody else can see the most up-to-date version.
okay, that's fine. All right, thank you. Okay, next is discussion, consideration, and take action on ordinance 2024-13, amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual budget. Although,
We'll find out.
okay, do I have a motion to discuss the budget?
I'll make that motion to discuss the budget.
Do I have a second?
That's second.
Okay, so, the reason that, the mayor stuttered a little bit was. Okay.
Because we don't think we have to amend it, but we
Yes.
need to explain it.
Technical difficulties. Okay. I do, goodness. I really do know.
Is it not going to slideshow?
It's just, my mouse is
There we go.
not very good. So yes, to the mayor's point, we won't have to actually amend the budget. We did spend more than we budgeted, but we also made, more revenues than we budgeted, so,
Well, and actually what happens is, we spent a lot more money than we budgeted due to Barrel. And Kendall's got some numbers here to show us. But when we approved last year's budget, looking at you two, because you two were there with us, we approved moving $1 million
Yep.
from our reserve funds into the budget to cover, infrastructure expenses. So we had the money allocated into the budget from reserve funds. We didn't have it in revenue, but we had it in reserve funds, and we proved that last year. So we didn't spend more than we had allocated into the budget. It just got spent on, most of it got spent on Barrel, or a lot of it got spent due to Barrel. Some of it also, and Kendall will show you that, some of it also got spent on, Bayside Lift Station ran over from the previous year, although we had some funds from that, but it also went over a little bit. We had electrical problems that we didn't anticipate in the original bid. Then we also, our lift station, we revamped all the lift stations and improved their bypass capabilities, and thank God we had done that because it got us through Barrel. Otherwise, we would have been turning water off. But, that project was more than we had allocated, but we knew we had reserve funds from that $1 million infrastructure. So between the lift station revamp, Bayside Lift Station, which was also lift station revamp. And then Beryl, we did spend that million. So, but we didn't overspend. So we don't have to do a budget amendment unless we spent more than we budgeted. But we did spend more than we brought in. I mean, we drained reserves. You can all see by your reports here, we did spend $1 million out of reserve last year. And we did it by improving our infrastructure, but Beryl took a big chunk of that.
Now,
So-
are we going to get reimbursed by FEMA for some of that?
Yes,
That's
we're
the
working,
hope.
we're working on that. In fact, they were just here yesterday. Maybe the most productive meeting I've had with them since the hurricane. Yeah, it's not 100% reimbursable. The categories A and B, which are debris removal and emergency protection measures, I believe are reimbursable at 100%. But the rest of it is closer to 75% as far, but it's better than nothing. And as we go through this, you'll see that we
You have the borough number.
yes, yeah, and just telling you, go with the over. So, and I'll go through this slideshow real quick. It really is the.
It's not in this, is it?
No, you gotta look up here,
I'll
Gil.
let you know.
No, I mean, wasn't in the
No.
agenda.
No, I did not
This is,
put it.
this is just a help for us to.
So, but before I show you the physical budget and the spreadsheets, I'll just kind of go the highlights real quick. So, good news, our general fund revenues were up.
Over budget's a good thing.
Yeah,
That means excess revenue.
In this instance,
Not
over
overspent.
budget for revenue is good. And so those notable increases, building permits, court fines were almost double, the projected revenues. Interest, and you'll see that it don't look like very much, but, there was another 100,000 of it got put into the municipal side, so it's a significant increase over what we have projected. Hotel occupancy tax, 237,000, so there was a lot of that has to do with, back taxes that were paid, you know, the efforts we've been making over the course of the last year to try to get people compliant. And then, miscellaneous fees, that is where we put, we were $74,000 over budget. 76,750 of it was operating fees. So that's 307 STRs at $250 a piece. So that's the reflection of that. So
Kendall, I'd also like to go back and just remind everybody, when you see that court fine of $375,000, city only keeps about half of that. So, yes, it's extra revenue, but there's half of that
It's all
goes
that we
to,
really
goes to
need.
the state and all these
yeah,
different
there's still expenses
entities.
that come with it.
Right, but yeah, there's still expenses that come out of that. So when you look at net positive to the city, it's really half that.
So the expenditure side, $244,000 over budget, so that's where over budget's not good. However, you'll see the note right under that. On the general fund side, Hurricane Beryl, $291,000 in expenses attributed to Hurricane Beryl. And as we
Out
kind
of the million.
out of the million, that's on the general fund. We still got the municipal side too.
Yeah.
We're not done.
Oh, okay, yeah.
This is just general.
291,000. So I just made some notes, the notable overages as we look down through that. Administration salaries were over 58,000, 43,000 of that was Beryl. So the, during the, emergency declarations, all staff, their salaries go to time and a half during a declared emergency. So, in total, it was about $80,000, 85,000, I think, 43,000 of it to administration type salaries, and 42 of it to the police department. So that was directly attributable to those 2 weeks of disaster declaration. Technology, we're over 37,000, 40,000 of it was the new accounting software, AccuFund. Contract services, we're about 107,000, $103,000 between debris removal from Tropical Storm Alberto and Hurricane Beryl. And in fact, I believe Alberto was the majority of that. The debris removal, the cost for it was more for Tropical Storm than it was for the hurricane. And unfortunately, there is no recovery, no FEMA recovery for Tropical Storm. So, City Hall building M&R, we're over about 50,000. We have $50,000 in a roof and $23,000 in multiple air conditioners. City Hall equipment M&R, 72,000 over, 69,000 of it was an elevator. Miscellaneous, 36,000 over, and there's no description there because really what that is, it's not one or two things. It's just our previous budget did not have the correct or enough line items, descriptors to be able to attribute some of our expenses to. So miscellaneous really became a catch-all for, if we didn't have a good place to put it, it got put into miscellaneous.
Yeah.
So as you look down, if you were to pull up the sheet, you would see no real big ticket items. They were just a lot of small ones that we didn't have good descriptive places to put it. Our new budget have a lot more, it'll be a lot cleaner. It still has a miscellaneous because there's always some kind of weird thing that gets, but those amounts will be substantially less. Park maintenance and repairs. So we painted, did some repairs of the pavilion, repairs to the fence, some electrical repairs. Is a vast majority of that $23,000 overage. Just maintenance of the park, I think, was exactly $23,000, and so it gets eaten quickly. And you also see in EMS, that budget's almost zero, but we did spend $10,000, close to $10,000, upgrading the lighting in the station in the bays. So.
Yeah, it was getting dangerous.
Yeah. We'll continue. Hot salaries, $39,000 over. 13 of that was additional patrols that we had authorized for the additional police patrols, and then also the salaries from Beryl. Tourism, $12,000, $5,000 directly to Beryl. And you'll see that $3,000. We asked the engineers to. We want to explore a sign crossing over Buccaneer at the entrance to the beach. The thought was that would be the place where all our signage, it would be similar to Stewart, and something that it would be an interest, outline the main entrance to our beach and allow us to put some other signs on there, information depending how we do with the beach user fee, things like that. And but obviously that would have to be engineered. Mayor and I were talking before this that maybe we need to question that's a pretty good chunk for an engineering project. So, but
I was gonna say, when we do drill to China and anchor it in titanium.
PD salaries, you're going to see an overage of about $62,000. We had a retirement payout and also a payout for an officer who had resigned, and so that's paying out vacation leave. And then $42,000 in salaries during the Beryl. Technology, 38,000 over. In-car cameras is not all 38,000. It's just, but that was the main attribute to, because that was a non-budgeted item, and that was something I brought to the council as an afterthought, that we wanted to upgrade or to have cameras installed on all our vehicles. PD insurance for general liability, we're about 10,000 over, and that's attributed to the amount of reserve officers that we have. Directly affects that. And then beach M&R, about 88,000, 25,000 of it was for barrel. The roll-off dumpster experiment was $8,300. And so that, those were the two big ticket items. I do think there is some, sand removal from, just at, like Alberto, and we didn't even factor in the work that happened during Alberto, the cleanup afterwards of that. So that was a large portion of it. We specifically pointed out Barrel because I wanted to be able to give you a dollar amount, but unfortunately, Alberto was as far as cleanup was almost as devastating, really. So then now we jump over to the municipal funds. That's the utilities. $205,000 additional revenues. But the caveat here is 198,000 of it is really, so 51, almost 52,000 was for fire and EMS donations. That's a pass through. So that's money in, money out. But that's 51,000, 52,000 above what we had budgeted. So that's
Remember
great
we
news
approved-
for
we
great news for
approved
fire
the
and
increase.
fire and EMS.
But it's just straight through.
Yeah.
So it's not really there.
Yeah. The interest, I mentioned earlier, 104,000 of interest earnings. Because of where the monies were generated from that are drawing the interest, that's how we allocated the interest. So some of it is going into the general fund, but a portion of it's coming into municipal funds too. But that was not budgeted, and so it reflects as additional revenues. And then overpayments, that $42,000 is monies that people overpay their utility bill, which happens monthly. And so we now have $42,000 additional revenues that we're not able to spend. They're set there and they reflect as credits towards people's bill.
So it's money in the bank, but it's not really our money.
It's money in the bank, but it's not money to spend, so.
That's
yeah,
right.
Yeah, so, and then,
And the other thing I'd like to point out, Kendall, is on the interest, last year, our money markets are a fluctuating rate. So the CDs are fixed, and Kendall renegotiated, we did some shifting, y'all might have remembered approving some of that, where we put them in different terms, lengths to get better rates. The other thing too is being conservative. When we put the budget together last year, I estimated based on money in the bank at about a 3.5%, not knowing where interest rates were going. And we actually earned about 4.7. And then last year I did allocate all of the proposed interest, that was a mistake on my part, into the general fund, and I should have split it between the two. So it ended up being kind of right on the mark for interest in the general fund, but the extra interest that we earned that we didn't, we weren't aggressive in or overestimating last year. So that's where this extra interest came from, is because we actually earned about 4.7 and we had estimated at about 3.5. And then Kendall's been on top of making sure that those CDs stay as current and best we can get.
so the other three, the numbers here are the actual three utilities. So the water, we ended up 20,000 to the good. But you'll see sewer and trash, we're negatives, about 10,000 in sewer, 19,000, roughly 19,000 in trash. And when we flip over to the budget, we can discuss that a little bit. Some of the expenditures, said Hurricane Burrow, 451,746 on the municipal side. Now these are monies directly attributed to and also indirectly attributed to Hurricane Barrel. So it's a little bit inflated, but not really. So these are monies that we will be claiming for reimbursement from FEMA. But some of the things that would be included in there are the works we're doing to televise the sewer system south of 3005. Work on repairing manholes that either collapsed during the storm or some we've raised since then to try to get them up above, hopefully future water levels, things like that. So, so all of these, and you'll see it's $750,000. All of those are monies that we are trying to get reimbursement, either fully or partially from FEMA. So they're wrapped up into this number. Before Beryl, we would not have set a priority as our wastewater sewer system, but we've seen twice now how inflow, high waters inundate our system with seawater, things like that. And as we start looking, we found there's 16 manholes south of 3005. 14 of them were 3 foot below sand. We had sewer laterals. They're not laterals. They're service lines that for houses that used to exist that no longer do, but were open and allowing water into them. So televising helped us find those and to repair those. So those are direct pipelines to the Gulf that's coming into our sewer system. And the mayor was right. If we had not done the work on our lift stations, which some of this is you'll see reflected here, we probably would have been in honestly much worse shape.
We would have been shutting water off.
Yeah. This $1 million is what Mayor Bauer had discussed prior to starting this. Sewer repairs, we were 221,000 over. 236,000 was directly to Beryl, so it was our overage and more. Wastewater treatment, that line item, we're 141,000 over. 157,000 of it is Beryl. So both of those we actually underspent if it wasn't for response to the hurricane. This one here, the water and wastewater contractor fees, it shows us $51,000 over 52,000. This is our branch construction contract where we pay $23,600 a month, or $283,000 a year, which would split 141.6 both water and wastewater. We just under budgeted in those two. I think we budgeted 100,000 in each line item instead of the 141.
The basis for that is, when I did the budget, I said the portion we pay for operating the system, because the other's supposed to be credit, right? And that credit should be reflected in the charges for repairs.
A different line item.
But it's not the way they've been billing us, and it's not the way we've been tracking it.
Yeah, we didn't cover it, right.
That's the reason it was budgeted low, is because, so I wanted to make sure that we actually captured the cost of repairs with the credit, and we're still working on doing a better job of that.
Miscellaneous line item, almost 22,000 over. That was all. There's 23,600 of it was for cleanup after Alberto. Then, as the mayor mentioned earlier, Bayside Lift Station or Lift Station 7, however you want to refer to it, overage in that project for this year. But then our lift station revamp, that line item, we're over 247,000. 270,000 was lift stations 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2, 3, 4, and 5 were one project together. And if you remember, 6, we were starting to have a catastrophic failure, so we repaired that one prior to the other. We were hoping to do them all together in one project, but 6 was failing fast. I believe it was 45,000 roughly by itself. I think it calls out, on the, I guess that's all I had. Oh, there, I thought I had one more. So there you can kind of see the breakdown. $743,000 direct or indirect expenses related to Barrel. And then you can see how it's broke down between the two funds. So, and that was a small storm in retrospect, I guess.
Just one question.
Yes.
In something like this, so we filed a claim with FEMA. What's the consensus? When might we get this money back?
That's a good question. Yeah, they are.
I mean, I'm new to this game, so I think it's a fair question.
And, so the conversation I had yesterday, I believe we have wrapped up everything needed for category A reimbursement. That's a debris removal. They've got all the receipts, got everything. I think we could probably see a check from it relatively soon. But we're still finalizing all the other, that's, I don't know, $35,000, $31,000.
How much do you think you might get relatively soon?
You know, when I was making the budget, I put a line item in there for federal, or for monies coming in. And I started to put a number in, and I changed my mind and said, and zeroed it out because I couldn't be certain. I'd say we'll have $100,000. They did tell us that they would be scheduling on-site visits first week of January, first couple weeks of January, to get people down here to look at specifically some of the things happening south of 3005. You know, and I will tell you, I put in for reimbursement for the dunes, $3 million. We can't, there's no guarantee that we would get that, but you don't know if you don't ask.
Yeah.
And so, but they will be here, a combination of TDM and FEMA people for on-site visits to look at some of these things that are happening with our wastewater systems, the projects that were claimed. If they're not completed, they'll come look at those for, but we have some projects like a manhole up here on Marina Drive that collapsed. That project's done. Some of the work that had to be done at the wastewater plant or things like that, those projects are done. They don't do site visits for those, but there's still a lot of paperwork that has to be put in, tracked. I'm gonna say 2 years.
2 years.
I think you could safely say that all reimbursements you could see within 2 years.
And a little bit next year.
Yeah, but I think we're gonna start seeing some, like I said, the new PD&G that this is our third PD&G, by the way, since this project started. This new guy, he seems like a go-getter, and we're gonna start pushing some things through, so. That's a political answer for you, but it's gonna take a little bit of time. But you're gonna start, I do think within the next couple of months, we'll start seeing some checks come in.
Okay.
All right. And this is the actual budgets, that the things that we just talked about, the notes that I've kind of highlighted as we're going through. You can see the numbers as they reflect on here. This is the revenue. This is general fund. Here's the revenues, the highlight ones are the significant changes, the overages of additional revenues, and some of the notes. One thing I will notice, we had budgeted revenue for 1% sales tax. That didn't take effect until October 1st of this year, so that's why it shows as a negative, almost a $10,000 under, because we budgeted for it, but thinking that it might take effect before then it actually did. So you'll see that all on the 24-25 budget. again, and just things that I've went through and I've highlighted the key overages with explanations and our notes to it. Thank you, Esther, for helping me with that, as to help to explain why those overages occurred. We are very fiscally conservative. No doubt that additional revenues helped us overcome barrel, but when we basically spent $750,000 that was unbudgeted, yet we're still able to stay within budget. So that should tell you that staff does a real good job of being conservative with their expenditures. So, then again, there's, like I said,
Esther, were you able to go in and do the technology amendments? to this
yes,
budget?
all,
We'll put it in
all,
there.
yep, they're
Okay.
all reflected
Okay,
in
thank
there.
If you guys remember last, October, we did a budget amendment right away and upped technology. Because we knew we needed to come in compliance with the new laws and go to the cloud and all that. So we had added technology funds, not enough. So,
And again, there's, I will send all this information out to you so you can, but everything that you're seeing, this is just the spreadsheet form of that PowerPoint that I just talked to you about. All
And
the
look,
things.
can we put this on the city website with
Yeah.
his back?
Yeah,
Okay.
and actually, this is probably something we could put on, this isn't the level of difficulty as
because of how she does things
Yeah.
and stuff.
yeah.
So basically what this amendment is a corrected budget.
Well, actually, we don't have to do an amendment.
Yeah.
We don't, but there are corrections in it.
No,
There's no material differences that we would have to report. The bottom line is, we didn't spend more than we were authorized to spend, and that's.
Yes, I understand
Yeah,
that, but
so there is no
it's a case
amendment.
of accuracy of where it is.
And
That doesn't require an amendment.
yeah, it doesn't.
It wasn't
doesn't
required, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the question was, I wasn't certain when we started that we were going to be within, and so that's why we were prepared with an amendment if we needed to file one. So that's why the agenda says the way it said. That's why it's stated the way it is. So if we needed to take action, we would be prepared to take action in it, because it would have to be done before the end of this calendar, and we're not gonna have another meeting, so. This here, just a quick explanation. The bulkhead project was budgeted last year, but didn't, it started in last year's budgets carrying over, so we're paying out of this year's. So you'll see this money is
Yes.
carry over into the next.
Yeah.
It seems complicated, it's not really, like I said, everything that you're seeing here is exactly what I just told you in that PowerPoint.
And the other thing to remember is that moving forward, Kendall and Esther have set up funds. So the carryovers aren't gonna be as awkward as they are now. When a project extends into the next year, those funds are in a fund, and the budget was approved for that funding. And then when it carries over to the next year, it's just much cleaner when it's tracked in a fund balance instead of the way we've been doing it. So the new AccuFund software we have is designed to help you manage your work in buckets. So it's cleaner to track and cleaner to carry over.
well, we're all gonna have to get comfortable with that. Which we will as we go through.
Yeah, it's.
Because I thought we were never gonna carry over. In other words, we were gonna, we would close out a project And if there was more money needed, we would show us a line item and we'd make it new, basically.
Well, it is gonna be a new line item in the new year's budget. It'll just be clear in a capital fund, which Kendall has established. So it'll just show how we fund capital projects, how much of that funding comes from our ongoing revenue
Yeah.
source, right? Eventually, how much might come from bonds, if we need to
I
pass.
understand that, but I'm saying that more than half, when we get the dollar for it, it's the expenditure.
Right, but if we budgeted X dollars for a project, then if it's not all spent in 1 year, it will carry to the next year.
Yeah.
And in
With
this.
an explanation of why.
Yes, that's right. And in the new fund management software, it's just cleaner on how we do that.
Okay. Like I say, we'll all get,
Yeah,
learn and get comfortable.
we will, as we go.
Yeah, so I was gonna try to, so this is what our new budget looks like as far as the amount of detail and line items. When I was telling you that, see, we still have a miscellaneous, cause there's always a catch-all, but we have a lot more ability to better classify our expenditures so that you can really see, and to Alderman Madre's, you know, we're looking at projects, capital projects, but we have line items specific to capital projects, where, we don't have that luxury in our budget, in our previous budget. And so, when we sit down at this time next year, this will be much simpler for you to see and understand, and much simpler for us to pull reports that are relevant to what you want to see.
Well, I'm glad you've gotten there.
Yeah, we are getting there. I'm not saying we're over the hurdle, but we are getting there.
But you can publish this, right?
Yes, we will absolutely publish this. And again, this is the municipal side. You know, I've done a lot of talking. I'd be glad to answer questions. Sure, if you have some questions that have come up, please fire away. Because this is really repetitive to really what you saw in word form.
Well, you put a lot into it. Both you and Esther have.
Esther put a lot in.
I know in your summaries you had stuff about electricity, that we were, what's
So
going
there-
on with electricity?
Okay, so the coverage that we see is, yeah, it's down for
Up a little bit. Right there.
Oh, yeah. We call it City Hall electricity because and it's overage, because we have like 3,200. But that's the electric bill for the 7 lift stations. And I can't.
How did we miss that bad last year, Esther?
Those numbers fluctuate, like some months it's low, and then some months it's really high, it's not consistent. And sometimes they won't even include it on the bill, and then it'll just be on the next month's bill. Like, it's weird.
Now, our new contract should start January 25. I
Okay,
believe. Yeah, so, we'd hope for a little cleaner look.
okay.
But and I can't 100% explain why it says City Hall electricity. I don't know how it ever got named that, but
We
it's-
don't either.
But that's the electricity that it takes to run those lift stations.
Okay.
So,
And
I'm just
maybe-
mad at myself for
and maybe
missing
we
it
can
that
transfer
bad.
it over to, cause remember it was always on the general side, and then we would have to try to
Yes.
calculate it, but then we did the journal entry that actually pulls it directly. So, based off of how, and I have the sheets if you need to see them, but I have it by like meter numbers, so I know what's what, it's broken down.
here is a little bit more of the breakdown of the lift stations, and as I referred to, 2, 3, 4, and 5 were one project, that was 224,000. Where, lift station 6 by itself was 45,000, that was, like, so the one that we had to act immediately so we could get it repaired and up and running. But in total, $270,000.
Yeah, but they are now all good pumps, and now they all have this bypass piping. So in the event of power outages, what we were able to do during Beryl is rotate our portable generator around, but then we were able to bring in diesel-driven pumps. And because we had done this, we had all the bypass piping we needed to just plug and play on those portable pumps.
And we'll just tell you
Yeah.
that's an expense that would have been reflected in something we labeled as
Barrel.
we put that towards barrel, so
Yes.
again, for future, it's improvements, but we're going to
There's a
ask for
necessity for
reimbursement.
barrel.
Yeah, we're gonna ask for reimbursement for those types of expenses. So that's when I say directly or indirectly related to barrel, that's what I mean, that's a good example of that.
Well, Mayor, I've watched over the budget for a lot of years, probably 14 years I've been watching over it. This is the best explanation and clear, much clearer than I've ever seen it be. So, thank you, Esther, thank you, Kendall.
Well, thank you for saying so, but truly, the credit goes to Esther, this is a lot of work. And going forward, it should be a lot less work, but, so.
Send this all together.
But I really do want to commend staff, because like I said, we just spent $750,000 that we had no intention of spending, and we did so without breaking the bank. I mean, we didn't need to, I mean, that's because their commitment to being fiscally conservative the rest of the time. We're not just, I mean, we really are, very conservative when it comes to spending, and now I know it doesn't look like it right now because we're getting new carpeting and things in the offices, but again, that's all budgeted too, so.
Yeah, well, and that's also gonna help us stick a foot through the floor.
Yeah.
Which we were risking.
But, like I said, they really,
Or all of us dying of mold.
and I will say this because honestly, the staff is inexperienced, as far as municipal budgeting and things like that. But they do treat it like it's their own money, and so I'm very proud of them for that. I try to keep an eye on it, but I also trust that they're very conservative and only spending money, really when it's necessary.
Yep.
They are frugal. I mean, that's not a negative. They understand how important it is.
So the bottom line on the budget is we did spend $1 million of budgeted reserve money.
And then,
Right.
and at your table, there is the breakdown of all the reserve funds and stuff.
Yeah.
And you will see that reflected, that the bank account went down $1 million.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, we'll get some of that back, but.
Yeah, and some of that is because monies that was budgeted for water line, some of it did go to barrel, but also as we approved projects, we knew we had $1 million budgeted, and we chose to spend it on the most critical items, which was the lift stations. And then we did do one water line project that was paid for last year as well, for $320,000, so.
And we've got another big project coming up. The water line?
At least
No,
one.
we don't have another water line approved yet.
Oh.
What, in early January, I don't think we'll do it the 7th, but the second meeting in January, I've been working on our 7-year infrastructure plan, right? That shows how we're gonna get where we need to be over the next 7 years. And there's a lot of choices to make in there, because at some point, we might have to pull in that de minimis tax rate for a couple of years to get us where we need to be, or we're gonna have to do bond money, or we're gonna have to opt to keep spending money on repairs rather than replacement, right? So, anyway, this, probably the first meeting in January is already pretty full, so it might be the second meeting in January where we'll actually roll out that plan. I've got the straw model of it done. Just tweaking it as we go, so. Anyway, but you will see, we did spend down $1 million, but hopefully we're gonna get a couple $100,000 back from barrel reimbursement.
What's 75% of 750,000?
Are there any other grants we can go after that will come out or?
Mitigation funds are the other avenue, and, just a caveat, the FEMA will be bringing in a mitigation person to talk to us about it. So there's two types, state level and federal level.
How about county? Can the county help at all?
Not so much mitigation fund,
Yeah.
Or any, just any other type?
Okay, any other questions on the budget?
Agreed.
Nope.
Good job.
Okay. We're not doing an amendment, so I think, we're through with item 6. We discussed it. Okay, next is my report. Once again, I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and safe and happy holidays. Christmas is always a special time, and I did like very much what, Pastor Gilman spoke about, let's try extra hard over the holiday season to love our neighbors, because we do have a great community here. I'd like to thank staff again for all the hard work. I know trying to get the budget numbers in and finalized and figuring out where we're doing, especially, poor Esther's been working redundant systems here. So, she's been doing overtime as usual. And that's all I have. Other than we are working hard on the STR ordinance, and on the permitting side, I know that Katie, our building inspector, our building specialist, she made a few tweaks to the program to help, because we did have a system where you needed a multiple permit, you couldn't do it. You got charged for 4 different permits when it was really 1. So, she has been working with the contractors and making improvements, and we ask people to keep providing their input and providing their suggestions on how to continue to improve, because we are trying hard to continually improve. I know we stub our toes some, and, but all of staff, and I know council supports that. So that's all I have. I don't think we have an executive session today, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All right.